There's nothing more exciting for a gardener than lifting a handful of rich soil and finding it crawling with healthy earthworms. These little soil engineers are the ultimate sign of fertility, constantly breaking down organic matter, aerating the soil, and leaving behind nutrient-rich castings that, honestly, just supercharge plant growth. Yet in many gardens, especially raised beds, worms don't just show up on their own. Worms are drawn to food, moisture and conditions that feel safe. In raised beds, however, these conditions can fluctuate too quickly. The soil dries out faster, organic matter breaks down rapidly, and the environment sometimes feels too artificial for worms to settle in. The key to attracting them isn't just tossing in random kitchen scraps or compost. It's about creating a concentrated source of irresistible food that worms can smell from deep within the soil. This is where the magic sprinkle mix comes in, working like a beacon to lure them. To prepare this worm-attracting mix, you'll need 3 easy-to-find ingredients: cornmeal, sugar and warm water. Each plays a critical role in creating a perfect micro-environment that worms cannot resist. Cornmeal provides a slow breaking down food source that worms love to graze on. Sugar boosts the microbial explosion, which in turn makes the soil even more appetizing to worms. Warm water ties it together, activating the fermentation process that releases the irresistible scent. Here is the exact formula: 2 cups of cornmeal, 2 tablespoons of sugar, 1 litre, about 4 cups, of warm water. Mix these together thoroughly until you have a slurry that is pourable but not too thin. Let it sit for 12 to 24 hours in a covered container at room temperature. This resting period allows the natural fermentation process to kick in, building up the smell and microbial activity that worms can detect. When ready, sprinkle the mixture evenly across your raised bed soil surface. You don't need to drown the soil, just a thin coating is enough. Then lightly water the bed so the mixture seeps just below the surface. Within a couple of days, you'll notice worms rising and burrowing into the mix, and in about a week, your raised beds will be buzzing with life. What makes this mix so powerful isn't just the ingredients themselves, but honestly the chain reaction they trigger. The sugar feeds soil microbes, which immediately multiply, almost like magic. As microbes flourish, they break down the cornmeal, creating a steady stream of organic byproducts. Worms are naturally attracted to this microbial hotspot because it means a constant supply of food without effort. Once worms settle in, they create tunnels that bring air into the soil, improving drainage and root health. Their castings then recycle nutrients, giving your plants a boost that chemical fertilizers just can't match. Timing is everything. The mix works best when your raised beds are slightly moist, not bone dry and not waterlogged. After a light watering, or after rainfall is perfect. Applying in the late afternoon or evening works better than during hot midday hours, since worms are more active in cooler conditions. If your beds are freshly mulched, peel back the mulch, apply the mix, then replace the mulch to hold moisture and scent in longer. For long-lasting worm populations, 1 application every 4 weeks during the growing season is ideal. This frequency maintains microbial activity without overwhelming the soil. If your raised beds are struggling and seem lifeless, you can apply twice a month at the start to kickstart the ecosystem, then reduce once worms are established. Unlike chemical fertilizers, this mixture won't burn plants or harm soil. It simply strengthens the living web that makes gardening thrive. Although the mix alone works wonders, you can double the results by pairing it with organic mulch or a thin layer of compost. Mulch helps trap moisture, keeping the worm-attracting scent close to the soil surface where worms can find it faster. Compost adds even more microbial life, turning your raised beds into an irresistible buffet. If you've ever wondered why some gardeners seem to have worm-rich soil naturally, this combination of steady food supply and moisture is the secret. You'll know your raised beds are turning into a worm haven when you start noticing a few key changes. First, the soil texture becomes softer and crumbly, easy to work with even when slightly damp. Second, you'll see worm castings, tiny dark granules scattered on the surface after watering or rainfall. Third, when you pull back mulch or dig lightly, you'll see worms coiled close to the top, comfortably feeding. These are all signs that your mix has worked, and the worms now consider your raised beds their permanent home. Many gardeners try to attract worms by burying kitchen scraps, dumping unfinished compost, or even buying worms to add directly. While these methods can work, they often fail because the conditions don't encourage worms to stay long-term. Scraps attract pests, unfinished compost can heat up and drive worms away, and bought worms often crawl out if the environment doesn't suit them. The sprinkle mix is different because it doesn't overwhelm the soil. It offers steady, manageable food that worms love while boosting microbial life in a natural way. This ensures worms not only visit but also stay, multiply and thrive. Once worms are established, your raised beds become a self-sustaining cycle of fertility. The worms feed, breed and enrich the soil continuously, reducing your need for synthetic fertilizers or heavy composting. Plants in worm-rich soil grow stronger roots, resist drought better and yield more produce. Over time, you'll find that your raised beds require less external input because the worms and microbes do most of the heavy lifting. All it takes is a simple sprinkle every now and then to maintain the balance. Earthworms are nature's gift to gardeners, and attracting them doesn't have to be complicated. With just cornmeal, sugar and warm water, you can prepare a simple mix that worms cannot resist. By sprinkling it into your raised beds, you'll create a thriving environment where worms rush in, settle down, and transform your soil into a powerhouse of fertility. If you've been struggling to bring your soil to life, try this one trick and watch as worms flood your garden like magic. And if you found this guide helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Growth Hub Central Crops on YouTube, share this video with fellow gardeners, and join us on the journey to healthier, more productive gardens.